Hi, and welcome to English for You. I'm Seb.
I'm Kat.
And today we're talking about paying attention, right, Kat?
Huh?
Kat.
Sorry?
We're talking about paying attention. Okay, so if you could pay attention to this lesson.
Okay, yeah, I'll try.
Okay, good. So we're talking about paying attention. That's when we're listening, we're not being distracted, we're not Kat.
Sorry?
Pay attention to the lesson.
Oh, yes,
Okay?
You're right.
Right. So basically, I was reading this news article yesterday, and it was about how people's attention spans are getting shorter. Attention span, that's how long you can pay attention for things. Like, Kat is already distracted right now.
Oh, no, I'm not. You were talking about a news article.
Okay, and
Yeah.
what else did I say?
You were talking about attention spans.
Yes.
I really was paying attention. I'm just acting. Surely I have a little bit better attention span than what is that?
Oh my God. Well,
I'm just kidding.
So here's a question. Do you think you have a better attention span than a goldfish?
I sure hope so. I think goldfish are famous for having very short attention spans, right?
Right. It's like 9 seconds.
Something like that. They remember things for longer, but they can only pay attention to something for a short time.
Yes, so they get distracted very easily. And some people say that our attention spans are getting shorter because of something that we all do. Do you know what it is, Kat?
I bet you it's something to do with maybe social media or seeing things go by in a very fast succession.
Like watching a race.
Yeah, like maybe scrolling through your feed. You see a tweet for about 2 seconds. You go to the next tweet. That sort of thing.
Yes, yeah. Constantly scrolling, using social media. Yes, those are the kinds of things that are ruining our attention spans. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. So let's get started.
Okay.
Reading. Free yourself from digital media. Digital media is now a basic part of our lives. However, constantly using digital media is causing serious changes in our brains and the way we behave. We're addicted to the attention we get from each online interaction. We're always seeking the next dopamine rush. Dopamine is a pleasure chemical in our brains, and it's a factor in becoming addicted to things. How can we kick the digital habit and just be alone with our thoughts? Start by putting your phone away for 24 hours. This period will help you change your mental network. In the future, restrict your phone use by putting it in airplane mode. You can also remove all screens from your bedroom and only use them at certain times. Replace your digital media dopamine rush with one from doing a challenging activity. This could be exercising, solving a puzzle, or working on an art project. The pleasure you get from these achievements lasts longer because you've earned it.
Okay, so today's article is going to be talking about digital media. So that would be, everything kind of relating to electronics, phones, computers.
Yep.
Digital is just like 数位, so all of those kind of things. I think a good example is digital clocks,
Yes.
Those electronic watches, for example, that show numbers instead of
This is not digital. This is what you call analog.
Yes, so that's not digital, but if it was like showing the time in numbers, it would be a digital clock. So our article begins, digital media is now a basic part of our lives.
Of course.
That's very, very true. It is kind of the foundation of everything we do, We use a lot of social media, things like that. We talked about digital, and we could also talk about digital media. So digital media would be 数位媒体. So, kind of like any kind of media that is online, basically. So there could be internet news, it could be YouTube, it could be social media, all of those things.
Yeah. I think PTT and Dika, they're like two really popular social media sites or digital media sites in Taiwan.
Exactly. We don't always use digital media to talk about TV though, even though it's electronic. We normally use the word traditional media to talk about that. So that's like cable TV, things like that.
So where it's not so interactive or it's not using the internet as a base. Okay, so yeah, it's true. We all have digital media as a huge part of our lives these days. The article says, however, constantly using digital media is causing serious changes in our brains and the way we behave. Interesting. So it's causing changes in our brains because we are constantly using it. Constantly here is this adverb, and you can tell by a ly at the end. Constantly comes from the adjective constant, and it means something is happening all the time or very, very often over a period of time. So maybe you're not using social media every minute of your life, but maybe you check your phone a few times a day, or a few times an hour, or once every 10 minutes. Or maybe, you go on your computer every day when you log in for work, something like that. We're constantly looking at digital media. Now, this is a little bit different from the word consistently. I think people get these confused sometimes. When you say something you are doing consistently, it means it's continuing to do it in the same way. So you could say, I am exercising consistently. I am exercising 3 times a week, every week. Not constantly. If you're exercising constantly, you're exercising all the time, and that's not actually good for you.
Right, exactly. I could say I could consistently check my work email, but I don't constantly check it.
Right.
I'm not always looking at it.
Yeah, you check it every morning at 10 a.m., but you're not looking at it every few minutes because you're afraid to miss a message. All right, so an example for constantly. Leah's brother constantly tries to get her in trouble, and she's really tired of it. I would be too.
Yes, I definitely would be. Okay, so we're constantly looking at our phones, we're constantly going online, and the article says we're addicted to the attention we get from each online interaction.
So we are addicted to it. Ooh, that sounds like a really big deal.
It's a big deal. So let's take a closer look at this word addicted. Okay, so to be addicted to something. When you're addicted to something, you use it a lot by habit, often without thinking about it. So for example, I would say I'm addicted to coffee. Sometimes I even have a headache when I don't drink it. I love drinking coffee. I drink coffee every single morning, probably every single afternoon as well. So that would be a kind of addiction. I do that by habit. I do that all the time. In this article, we're talking about people being addicted to social media and being addicted to their phones. So that would mean that people are always looking at their phones, always looking at their social media. Importantly, when you have an addiction, you often do things by habit or without thinking about them. So, if you're just looking at your phone for no reason, that could be part of a small addiction. So some addictions aren't that harmful or aren't seriously harmful, but other ones can be. So for example, alcoholism is an addiction to drinking alcohol that can cause serious problems with your life. Meanwhile, people with a nicotine addiction smoke a lot of cigarettes, or they might use other methods, but normally they'll be smoking cigarettes. We can say that you fight an addiction when you struggle with it, and you are recovering from an addiction when you are successfully getting around it.
All right, so that's what addiction means. And in this case, we're talking about addiction to digital media, which some people have called nomophobia. It's no mobile phobia, which is like you're afraid of being without your phone. I think I have this a little bit, not really. My phone's not near me right now and I don't feel weird about that, but sometimes I'm just like, oh, I want to look at it.
Yeah, it's a bit of that. Like I remember there was one day that I left my phone at home and I had a great time.
Yeah.
Like I didn't know where any of my friends were. I went to a party, I was lost on my own and I was having a great time.
That's good.
But if I have my phone with me, I'll always be I'll know where it is on the table. I'll be looking down at it. It's over there.
Yeah.
Have I got a message? Anyway, yeah. So I guess we're all craving interaction through our phones, aren't we?
Yeah, exactly. So interaction is another one of these very important words. Interaction is from the verb to interact, plus that T-I-O-N, or in this case, just I-O-N, because there's a T on the end of interact. To interact is to talk to other people, to do things with other people, or to kind of use some way of communication to have a conversation with somebody or with something else. Like you can also interact with a robot, you can interact with animals, you could interact with a video game character even. It doesn't have to be people. It's just that you are getting interaction, which is this feeling and this act of talking to somebody or something.
Or doing things with it.
Yeah, and it's countable, so you can have many interactions with people, or it's non-countable too, so you could say you have a lot of interaction. Yeah.
We could.
So yeah, that when you interact with people on social media, you really feel good about it, right?
Exactly.
We're always seeking the next dopamine rush. Dopamine.
What is dopamine?
Let's find out. All right, we are talking about this chemical called dopamine. So as I just said, it's a chemical. Your brain makes it. It is something that makes you feel happy, and it's something that makes you feel excited, and it's something that you get when you feel like you've accomplished something. So it has a big role in reward-motivated behavior. That means when you do something, you get rewarded. That dopamine is your brain's reward because it makes you feel good. So we get dopamine by doing things like winning at video games or by getting likes on social media posts. We can also get dopamine through things like winning a sport or watching our team win a sport, or we can get it through hiking or finishing an art project. Anything that has a satisfying result can release dopamine in your brain. And we love that feeling, so sometimes people get addicted to it.
Okay, so as Kat just excellently explained, dopamine is a pleasure chemical in our brains, and it's a factor in becoming addicted to things, right? I think a good example is like gambling. For example,
yes.
you know, if you're gambling 赌钱, then and you win some money, you get a sudden feeling of, yeah, I just got free money.
That's dopamine.
And that's dopamine, that feeling. So people can become addicted because they love that feeling of winning. Anyway, dopamine is one factor in addiction. Now, factor is a noun that means a reason for something or something that influences a result. So an example of this would be money troubles were a factor in my decision not to travel this year. So what I'm saying there is there's probably a few reasons why I didn't travel, but one of them is that I didn't have enough money to get the ticket, to book a hotel, and so I say that money was a factor. When we say that there are a lot of different factors behind a problem, we mean that there are lots of different things that are causing that problem to happen.
That's right. So dopamine is a factor in addiction, and even addiction to things like social media. And they only discovered this, you know, maybe 10 years ago, something like that, when social media started to become a really big thing, especially with young people. So the article now asks us, how do we solve this problem? How can we kick the digital habit and just be alone with our thoughts? It's a very rare thing to do these days. When was the last time that you were just alone with your thoughts and you weren't thinking, you weren't like wanting to look at your phone or be with other people?
Probably not for a month or so. Probably a long time, yeah. Because I always put on music or, you know, I listen to something. I'm always using some digital media all the time. But I do sometimes try and have a break, you know? I think that's an important part of kicking the habit.
That's right. Yeah, so kicking the habit or kicking a habit, it can also be called breaking a habit. It means to get rid of it. It means to stop doing that thing, make it not be part of your life anymore. And so you no longer have this urge, this need to look at your phone or this need to drink alcohol if you're an alcoholic, something like that. Kicking a habit is making it go away. And usually you want to kick bad ones. So how do we kick this one?
Well, the article says start by putting your phone away for 24 hours. Wow, that would be challenging for me, definitely. 24 hours, that's a whole day, and we're supposed to be putting our phone away. When we put something away, we store it somewhere out of use, okay? So you could put something away in your pocket, or I think in this example, maybe put it away in a drawer, or put it away, you know, next to your bed or something like that.
Turn it off,
use it.
Put it somewhere you won't look.
Store it, stow it, don't use it. So our example sentence is, put your phones away, the exam is about to begin. Obviously, you can't have your phones out, you can't be using your phones during an exam. Okay, so why are we going to put our phones away for 24 hours?
This period will help you change your mental network. So it's actually going to help you rewire your brain.
Yeah, it's going to help change your relationship with dopamine, I think. We can maybe talk about this a little bit later. So the article says, In the future, restrict your phone use by putting it in airplane mode. Now, I definitely do this when I'm working because I get distracted by notifications. You know, when someone sends you a message, you get a little number.
Yeah.
I turn on my phone on airplane mode, which means you can't see those notifications.
That's right.
And so a mode, that's basically a setting normally on an electronic device. So we often hear the phrase airplane mode, which means all of the signals are turned off, like Bluetooth, like
Wi-Fi, 4G, 5G, all off.
All of those things are off.
Yeah.
Or we could put it on silent mode, and that means that the phone doesn't make any sounds. So you could say that when you go into the movie theater, you put your phone on silent mode because you don't want to interrupt other people.
I just turned mine off.
Yeah, that's true.
Anyway, so yeah, there's lots of different ways you can put your phone on a mode. Airplane mode is one where you will not get interrupted. You can also remove all screens from your bedroom and only use them at certain times. That makes sense too. Like, you know, take your TV out so you're not tempted to watch it at bedtime. Take out your computer so that you're not going to use it longer than you have to, than you should. And also, the blue lights from your screens can also affect your sleep.
Yeah, they can keep you awake for longer.
Yeah.
That's very true.
And so we want to remove. That means to take something or move something away from a place. So that means take your TV out of your bedroom. Get your computer and your phone out of your bedroom. Put it somewhere else. Remove it. So an example of this could be, let's remove this table from the room. That way we'll have more space here.
That's a very good example sentence. So our next sentence is replace your digital media dopamine rush with one from doing a challenging activity.
So remove and replace.
Remove and replace. Okay, so replace is a verb, and when you replace something, you take it away. You take something away and put something else in its place. So think about an electric light. When you've used one for a long time, the light bulb, 燈泡, will die and go out. You then get rid of that light bulb and replace it with a new one that will work. You can also replace habits too, like this example sentence. I'm trying to replace my habit of using my phone before bed with reading a few pages of a book.
All right, so we want to make sure that we replace our screens with doing something that's interesting or challenging. So challenging here is kind of like putting a challenge to yourself. It's difficult in a way that's usually interesting or enjoyable. So if you say something is challenging, it's not like, oh, it's so hard, I don't want to do it. No, if something is challenging, you want to do it because it will make you feel accomplished when you do finish it. So something like learning a skill that you didn't have before. Maybe exercising, something like that. It could be hard, but you will feel better when you did it. Okay.
Exactly.
So an example sentence for challenging. The hike up the tall mountain was challenging, but I really had a good time.
It would be very rewarding when you get to the top.
That's right. It gives you some natural dopamine. Now, here's some other examples of challenging things. This could be exercising, solving a puzzle, or working on an art project. Okay.
Yes.
So if we want to work on something, exercising is something you can work on, solving a puzzle is something you work on, and you work on art projects. It means you're in the process of making something or doing something, or you're making an effort, kind of. Like say, I'm working on it, I'm doing it.
Exactly. In fact, the article says, the pleasure you get from these achievements lasts longer because you've earned it. Right, that's the key to this dopamine diet thing, is when you stop using your phone for a while, then you find other things are pleasurable and satisfying. So you have to work more for, say, finishing your homework or climbing a mountain or whatever, or reading a book. But when you do those things, the achievement makes you feel really, really good. Now, an achievement is something good or impressive that you manage to do. So when you finish high school, for example, that will be a big achievement.
Yay.
It's not easy to get ready for your exams and study like crazy.
No, it's not.
So, you know, that's something you can feel really good about. Winning first place in a sports race too, that's also another great achievement. We can say that you make an achievement or that you get an achievement, or we can just say that you achieve something. That's because achieve is the verb form of achievement. An example sentence for achievement is, some of my recent achievements include finishing college and finding a good job.
Yay!
Hopefully I can say that in 6 months.
Because you're in graduate school now.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure today's article has given us a lot to think about in terms of our digital habits.
Yep.
So what do you think, Kat? Do you think you could develop better relationships with your digital devices?
For sure. I mean, I always try and kind of be conscious of how much I'm using things. I try and put my phone away before bed for about an hour and just spend time with my family, spend time maybe reading or listening to music, doing something chill and without the big blue light in my face. So, yeah, I think it's possible. I think you just have to kind of decide that you're going to do it and then do it.
Yeah, you've got to stick to it. You've got to keep working at it. Okay, let's go on to today's For You Chat question.
For You Chat.
All right.
Okay, so today's For You Chat question is, what's the longest you've gone without checking your phone? How did you feel at that time?
I'm going to give you a cheeky answer. 19 years.
19 years?
Because I was 19 when the iPhone was invented, and that's when I got my first smartphone.
Ah, okay, right.
But really, I mean, like if you're talking about since then, I think probably 3 days.
3 days, that's still really
Like
good.
on a camping
Sometimes I
trip.
do one
Yeah.
day.
Yeah.
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 On a camping trip, I might check it once in the day.
Yeah. Just kind of look at it for the time. But,
Yeah, exactly.
you know, something like that.
Okay, that's still pretty good, I think, compared to most people today. Okay, you guys can share that question with each other. I'm sure you're going to have some surprising answers. And we will see you soon with more interesting articles. Until then, bye-bye.
Bye.
Vocabulary Review. Constantly. Matt is constantly working. He won't even take a break for 15 minutes. Factor. The pay, work hours, and amount of work each day were all factors in Lucy's decision to accept the job. Remove. Jamie removed all the dirty dishes from the table and put them in the kitchen sink. Replace. Maria replaced her afternoon habit of watching TV with playing sports outside. Challenging. Caitlin and Max needed to work together to play a challenging but fun board game. Achievement. Writing a whole book was one of Beverly's great achievements from this past year.
智慧小補帖
Digital. Addicted. Interaction. Dopamine. Mode.
以上节目是由活用空中美語製作。活用空中美語雜誌，請洽詢全國各大書店。如欲索取視聽教材，請來電02-2364-4000 02-2364-4000，或上網查詢，網址是 www.english4u.net www.english4u.net